Israel has responded. Yes, Israel has responded. Israel has responded to the comments of John Dramani Mahama at the 80th summit of the UN Assembly.
Thank you.
So we all remember the speech President John Dramani Mahama went to the UN, the 80th Assembly Summit, and gave to the world. We all remember how that message, people are calling him the Kwame Nkrumah of our modern days. People are saying that the spirit of Kwame Nkrumah has resurrected. He spoke a lot, talked about, touched many things. He said that Africa is the future.
The future of this world is African. Allow me to say this once again a little louder for those of you in the back. The future is African. According to this organization's own projections, by the year 2050, more than 25% of the world's population is expected to come from the African continent. Additionally, by 2050, 1/3 of all young people aged between 15 to 24 will be residing on the African continent. So you see, well, in the past, the majority of the 54 nations that now comprise Africa were never offered a seat at the table where plans for a new world order were being drawn. But, Madam President, as fate would have it, the tables are turning, and Africa's role in the authorship of whatever is yet to come for this world is going to be huge, and it will be consequential. Already today, Africa is a catalyst for human potential and development, as well as for economic reform and ecological stability. Africa is a catalyst for systemic change.
He also touched the fact that slavery should be the most evil thing done to humankind in the world. Slavery is what should be recognized in the world as the most evil deed ever done to mankind.
Madam President, the slave trade must be recognized as the greatest crime against humanity. As the African champion on reparations, Ghana intends to introduce a motion in this August body to that effect. More than 12.5 million Africans were forcibly taken against their will and transported to create wealth for the powerful Western nations. We must demand reparations for the enslavement of our people and the colonization of our land that resulted in the theft of our natural resources, as well as the looting of artifacts and other items of cultural heritage that have yet to be returned in total. We recognize the value of our land and the value of our lives, as did our colonizers, as well as the governments that happily paid reparations to former slave owners as compensation for the loss of their property, in quotes. And that property for which they received compensation was paid, referred to enslaved people who had been freed. We cannot normalize cruelty. We cannot normalize hatred. We cannot normalize xenophobia and racism. If we're going to tell a story, let's not tell its slant. Let's tell all the truth. When we speak of migrants, we speak of Mami Ewusi Mensah Frimpong, a judge on the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California. She's the first black female judge on any of California's 4 federal district courts. She was born here in America to immigrant parents from Ghana. We speak of Peter Bosman, a medical doctor in Ghana who moved to the town of Piran in Slovenia in the 1980s and later became the first black mayor of Piran, the first black mayor in Slovenia and in the whole of Eastern Europe. We speak of T. Michael, the iconic Ghanaian Norwegian artist and designer. And of course, we speak of the late Kofi Annan, former United Nations Secretary General. Former United Nations Secretary General and Nobel Peace Prize recipient, who was born in Ghana but spent his adulthood in various places in America and Europe. These are people who have brought great distinction to the countries that they decided to call home. Just as the migrants and the children of migrants before them did, I dare say these are not invaders. These are not criminals.
And after he said everything, he came back to say that after saying all these things, if you do not want to agree and you don't understand and you are angry or you have a certain bad feeling about it, then maybe you are having a different eyes. You are having a different kind of perception in listening and viewing the things he's talking about.
If this reality, which is fact-based and straightforward, seems provocative or unsettling, perhaps it's because you are viewing it through the lens of centuries of filters, colonialism and imperialism, and the resulting implicit bias. Maybe you are unaware of the resilience of African nations or their remarkable ability to make a strong comeback just when you think it's safe to come.
And after saying all these things, he went and touched the Israel and Gaza Palestinian issue. Hey, the street is not joking. The street is talking. Things they happen. But who will break them down? We there for you. Before we get into the gist today, remember to subscribe, share the video for other, and then follow me on all other social media networks. You get it? Like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all at Inside Studios Network, ISN. We there for you. Let's get into the juice.
Ghana recognized the state of Palestine in 1988 and supported a two-state solution to the conflict since then. And I say, contrary to the claims of some, a two-state solution would not be a reward for Hamas. It would rather be a reprieve for the hundreds of thousands of innocent women and children and people who are facing collective punishment and forced starvation for no reason other than the fact that they are Palestinian. For nearly 2 years and for the fear of reprisals, we here in this General Assembly have been playing hide and seek with language to find the right words to help us avoid or excuse what we all know is taking place in Gaza. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter what you call it. If it looks like a duck, it swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, well, then it must be a duck. The crimes in Gaza must stop. The crimes in Gaza must stop. Madam President, I also want to draw particular attention to the conflict in Sudan, which this body has described as the world's largest humanitarian crisis. 12 million people have had to flee their homes. And when we speak of migration, we refer to the 12 million new Sudanese refugees, whom we as a global community should be willing to assist in much the same way that many member nations readily assisted new refugees coming out of Ukraine. Let's dispense with the euphemisms and dog whistles and speak frankly. It is not a mystery that when leaders of Western nations complain of their migration problems, they are often referring to immigrants from the global south. But many of those immigrants are climate refugees. And interestingly, the global north emits 75% more greenhouse gases than the global south. However, the effects of climate change are more severe in the global south because we lack the resources to address them effectively. And so when the desert encroaches on our villages and towns and they become unlivable, we are forced to flee. Warsan Shire, a Somali-born prophet, a Somali-British poet born in Kenya to Somalian refugee parents, was London's first youth poet laureate. She writes in her poem titled Home. And it says, you have to understand that no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one bends their palms under trains beneath carriages. No one spends days and nights in the stomach of a truck feeding on newspaper unless the miles traveled mean something more than just a journey. Madam President.
So after the whole summit, President John Dramani Mahama, this is what the Israel government spoke or said through the ambassador to Ghana. His name is Mr. Roy Gillard, Israel's ambassador to Ghana. He has responded to John Dramani's criticism of Israel's action in Gaza during his address at the UN General Assembly, stressing that the conflict must be understood in its full context. We need to understand what has brought about all these things. We don't have to stay at the surface and talk about anything. Until we understand, we don't have to talk about anything. And then he continued, speaking at a press conference in Accra on Friday, Mr. Gillard acknowledged that President Mahama had some very strong points, but insisted that Israel cannot be judged by images alone. That means we cannot look at the images that are being put on the internet from Gaza, the broken buildings, the hunger, and all those things. We cannot just look at that. We need to look a step further and deeper and see a coincide before we can understand all these things. The picture really is very somber. It is very sad, and we do not deny that what is happening in Gaza is a tragedy, he said. But we only ask ourselves, who is responsible for this tragedy? We believe that what Hamas did on the 7th of October brought a huge tragedy for Israel and an even bigger tragedy for the Palestinian people, he added. The Israel ambassador urged that Israel's campaign was about survival and deterrence, adding that the goal was to disarm Hamas and secure the release of the 48 hostages currently being kept by Hamas. Since its birth in 1948, Israel has faced security challenges like no other state in the world. We want peace more than everybody else or anybody else, but we know that peace in other regions can be achieved only through might, only through force, only through deterrence, he said. Specifically on Gaza, if at the end of this campaign, Hamas will be standing on its feet, we have lost the war, he said. The current conflict was triggered by Hamas' surprise attack on the southern Israel on October 7, 2023, which killed hundreds and led to Israel's large-scale military response in Gaza. So this is what, has happened. After the UN comment on Israel by the president of Ghana, this is the response Israel, through the ambassador to Ghana, has said or has given to the president of Ghana and the people of Ghana. But people, they talk, say, President Mahama, they talk too much. People, they talk too much. This man should keep quiet. This matter, it not be small matter where you go put your mouth inside, though. Make you don't can worry, so keep quiet, Mr. Man. What do you also think? Let me know your ideas and your mind on this in the comment section. I will say, in fact, it is not, and yes, and that, because all the nations have met and they are talking about national world issues. What they say, and it is open to me, in fact, will be what time through this. So what they say, but then Obiane adventure. Send me kind of. Let me know your ideas in the comment section. But until then, what would I say? Remember to subscribe to the channel, share the video for other people to get it, so that we can get also their ideas, and follow me on all other social media networks like Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, all at Inside Studios Network, ISN. Until then, what am I still doing here? I'm gone.